When we first come to load shapes on our Scan and Cut machine, we will begin by turning the machine on. Then, when the animated screen appears, we will either tap on that screen with our stylus or press the home key. This message will appear every time you turn your machine on, and it's just a message to say that the carriage and mat will move to the initial position. We're going to get ready to do what we want them to do. It's okay to press OK each time you see that message. We now have two options available to us, and they're pretty self-explanatory. We have pattern or scan. So because we are loading a pattern, we tap on pattern. This screen may differ depending on the model of Scan and Cut that you have. For example, I'm using the CM900 here, so you can see that the Wi-Fi is connecting, and also I have a couple of extra categories of shapes. If you wish to know the category differences between the machines, there is a list of installed shapes available in the links and resources section of this course, so you can see exactly what's available on each machine. For this video, I'm looking at basic shapes, so that's indicated by the icon with the circle and the square. In here there are a plethora of different shapes that we can work with. And remember, we can weld these together, we can also punch them through each other. So although we have obviously quite a number here already, there are infinite possibilities going forward. I will just find myself a shape in here. I'll go for this triangle shape. The next screen that you come across once you've pressed OK will be the shape properties screen, and this is where we can set a lot of the initial settings that we want to give to that shape. We can change the height and width, and currently the aspect ratio lock is on, so you will see that the height and width change together. So if I change the height, the width changes, or if I change the width, the height changes. If I want to stretch that shape in any way, I turn the aspect ratio lock off with this icon, and now I can change the width and the height independently. To turn the lock back on, simply deactivate that icon. If I'm working with fabric, I may wish to add a seam allowance, and I can do that simply by tapping on the icon to the bottom left. Same process to turn it off, just tap on that icon. If I want to flip that design, I can tap on the icon with the two triangles and the dash line through it. This is useful if you're working with text and you need to reverse it because you're working on the inside of a window or a project similar to that. If I need to rotate the pattern for any particular reason, maybe there's a pattern on my cardstock that I want to follow, I can use the rotate function to rotate in any combination of these particular settings, so 90 degrees, 10 degrees or 1 degrees. So we can come up with all sorts. We can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 would give us 45, and I've already done 101, so I get 143. So you can see how this all combines together to give us all 360 degrees really. Okay, I will cancel out of that without confirming. If I confirm, that will put these settings into effect. If I press the X key at the top right, it will cancel out and not make the changes that I was just doing. The last option available to set is the draw fill function. If you don't see this, then you don't have the latest update of your software, so you may need to update that before you see this icon appear. As you can see, the shape changed and a fill has been applied. This will depend on what settings you have for the draw fill function, and we will cover that in the settings section later in this series, of course, series of videos. I'll turn that off for the time being though. I can also change the number of repetitions of that shape to load up. So if I'm doing a batch of invitations, I can change that to however many that I want. If I increase it to a number where the machine cannot fit all of those shapes onto the mat, and I then try and put this onto the mat, I will get a message saying there's not enough space to fit all of those on. But the clever thing is it will actually tell me how many it can fit on. So I can go back and I can change that right down to that number. So I know how many exactly I can do, and the machine told me it was 8, so I'm going to set that to 8. and I will press set. That's now positioned 8 of those triangles at the measurements I chose onto my cutting mat, and it's positioned them in a way that it's going to be able to fit as many as possible on.